episode in the Introduction to Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. Sorry that this took a while to make. We were prepping for YCS Vegas, which was a couple weeks ago, focusing in on that, and then when I got back from Vegas, I had a lot of personal stuff come up, so I was kind of focused on that, not really looking at the game too much, and had time to focus on making this video series. But now that we're in a place that we can do that, let's hop back into it. Speaking of YCS Las Vegas, we're going to use that to help talk about our topic for this video, which is post-tournament analysis, seeing where we could have done better, seeing what our deck building could have been better, and then we'll go into setting goals for yourself when playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! After a tournament or when you're starting off. So with that being said, we're going to start off by going over the deck I played at YCS Las Vegas. Even though it was a team event, we're going to look at it from a solo perspective because that's the kind of the whole purpose of this series. So let's get into my deck. Then we'll go over the changes I wish I had made and the changes I made going forward, and then we'll go over a tournament recap. So for YCS Las Vegas, I played Magistus branded Draco Tail. This wasn't really a surprise to anybody. I've been playing this deck for a long time. I topped Philly with it and just really like how the deck plays. I really like the Magistus cards, but I went with a very different approach this time. So as you can see, compared to my last list, it is 40 cards and not the 42, 43 that I've been playing. Also, you can notice that there's a lot less Magistus cards in the main deck, and they're actually in the side now. So let's go over the whole list, and then I'll talk about those points when we get to them. 3 Ash Blossom, the 1 Cartesia, 1 Crowley, 3/5 mana, 3 Lucius, 1 Malulu, 2 Pan this time, and 2 Urgula as well. These were additions because we just wanted to see more names and wouldn't be able to always have a name in hand. Also, we got the 1 Frixel. Moving on to 2 Droll. The 2 Droll were the worst cards in my deck. I wish I had sided them. I think they should have been in my deck at some way, shape, or form, but I really did not like this card, and I made the decision to move to my side after Vegas. I swapped them with the 2 Nibiru that are in the side currently. Moving on, we have the 3 Fallen of White, the 1 Ecclesia. Can't play the OG Albaz in this version because you don't have the room in the extra deck, but you get to play more consistency, which is nice. 3 Fualos, and the 1 Spenta. Now, the 1 Spenta, the mindset behind this was it's still full combo, almost always, and it makes our branded fusion better. Going into this event, we expected Yummy Fiendsmith to be highly represented, especially after the South American YCS that just had happened. Now, we were correct in that statement. I think I played maybe about 7 Yummy Fiendsmiths over the course of the weekend. So I kind of built my deck to beat Yummy Fiendsmith or a Yummy variant, as well as geared towards the mirror. I expected to play nothing but those really, and honestly, besides out of a couple weird matchups, I only played those matchups. The 1 Spenta, you honestly don't even really need. It honestly could just be the Crowley. However, I chose to play the Spenta because it makes your branded fusion a bit better. If you open a way to play Draco Tail and branded fusion, your branded fusion is just kind of like a little bit unnecessary. Like, yeah, you get Albion on the board and do all that stuff, but it's like you really don't need it. Whereas in this version, if I open branded fusion plus ways to play Draco Tail, I could start with branded fusion, send Spenta, make Albion, equip the Artemis to that Albion, search Crowley, and make Zoroa to facilitate all the rest of my plays. And if that gets stopped, that means every other play gets to go through anyway. If you wanted to just play the Crowley, you have the Lubellion line, which is a change that I have made from my previous lists. I'll get to that later, but I have cut Sanctifier and the Magistus XYZ for Lubellion and Chaos. Moving forward, we have 2 Branded Fusion, 3 Droplet, the 4 Draco Tail spells, 2 Fall on the Virtuous, and Flame and Sting. Now, we moved Horn to the side for space. I think that was always correct. Honestly, it was correct back when I topped at Philly, but I'm an old man stuck in my ways and I didn't want to change too much, but I was a bit more serious for this one. The Droplets and the Fall on the Virtuouses were the best cards in my deck. Because I played against a lot of Yummy Fiendsmith, every time they went first, I lost a lot of die rolls. Every time they went first, they had full board. It would always be SP, Yummy Name, Surprise Set, Wave King, and however many cards are in their hand. As long as I opened a Droplet or a Fall on the Virtuous, sometimes both, and then a way to play, I was winning that game. I very frequently had my opponent go full combo. My teammate Chance, who's our B player, look at me, who was C, and said, "Tyler, what game is it?" And I said, "Game 1." He would then look back, see my entire board completely full, and then ask me, "Tyler, what game is it?" And I said, "Still game 1." It's because I was able to break their board with everything that I had, with a droplet, with a Fall on the Virtuous, make full board. Took 20-25 minutes after it for a game 1, but we won those games. Moving on to our side. I got Magnamut. This card was insane. I loved it. Every time I opened it, I won. 3 Perulia. It was okay. 2 Nib. These should have been in the main deck. I don't think I ever really used it, but it's better than the Droll was, that's for sure. The 2 Spenta and the Zeroa. This is for going first, so you have more gas, more ways to play. I really felt like my main deck was built for every which way of game 1. If I lost the die roll, I was fine. If I won the die roll, I was more than fine. And then I put in more gas for when I was able to go first. Going forward, we have the 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Harpies. I don't think I drew either of these cards. The Horn, and the 3 Imperm. This is for pretty much any deck, but mainly Yummy Fiendsmith. You can use this as a draw to stop the Wave King. Also, it's good against Vanquish Soul Canine, which I did have one loss to that in Swiss. Moving to our extra deck, we have Awaz, Avalanetis. A lot of people were cutting this in the original version. I liked it. I still would keep playing it. Branded Dragon, 2 Arthalion, Gulamel, Omega. I had a couple other friends who played this deck, and I asked them how often the Omega came up, and they said they made it a few times going second for the removal effect. I don't think I made it once the entire weekend. It's honestly there in case I open Fallen of Light and nothing else, no other ways to play. And I think it still has to be there for those specific situations, but I think those situations are so few and far between that I could argue cutting this card. I didn't, and I still wouldn't, but that's kind of where the mindset was with that. The actual MVP of the extra deck was Lubellion. I made this card so many times. Chaos, I don't think I made once, but I was glad I had it there. It was a good retaliating C out. It was good as more interaction. Honestly, I was just happy to have it, but again, never made it. Lubellion, though, made this card a lot. I would send Crowley and Fall in the White sometimes when I got Retaliating Seed. I would send that off Branded Fusion, make this, discard a card, go into Zeroa, and then suck up the Retaliating Seed, which saved the Chaos for later. It put my negate on the board to facilitate the rest of my plays. It felt so good, and honestly, MVP. Trozo, I think I made this card maybe twice, once for combo, and once as an actual end board piece. Sadly, that is where one of my other losses came. I can get to that point later, but this card actually bought me a lot of time and let me see another turn. This card's amazing. I will never not play it. Secretarion, standard Zeroa, standard from Justice, and then Ecclesia, Zero Synchro, and the Artemis. Now that I've went over the deck list, we're going to go over my match history. And here we're going to look for what my losses were and pick out the misplays that I made and kind of discuss all of that and see, were those avoidable? Could I have played better? Could my deck have been built to not have what happened? Anything like that, to see what could we have done better in that exact moment. My first loss came round 1, sadly, to 60 card Orcust Mitsu Azumina. I would lose the die roll for this match. My opening hand was 5 mana, Urgula, Droplet, for Fallen in the Virtuous. Obviously, I have no interactions, and I'm watching him play for free. I draw for turn. I draw another for Fallen in the Virtuous. I can't play the game. I set 4 cards, try to see where we go from there. It obviously leads to nothing. So I lose game 1. Game 2, I win. Game 3, my opening hand going second is Fawalos, Nib, Ash Blossom, Fallen in the Virtuous, and Droplet. I'm very happy with this hand, especially if I can get this Fawalos to resolve. Obviously, I have no engine, and I need to draw into something, but don't have anything. So he normal summons a Orcust name. I respond with Fawalos. he called by the Grave Debt. I want to say that in 60 cards, mind you. So helps you feel a little bit better as to, he just had it, which sometimes they do. He then would make the link 1, activate the effect discarding Nibiru. I would Ash Blossom this. He would set 1 card and pass his turn. I would draw a Droll and Lockbird for turn. I still obviously have no way to play the game. So I set my cards, pass. He is able to play a bit through Droll and makes... he gets nibbed, but he still has something, like an interaction per se. But I'm able to set Branded Fusion off of the Albion I had sent off of FTV, and I draw for turn and draw another Fualos. Is what it is. So I really need this Branded Fusion to resolve. I go activate Branded Fusion. My opponent responds with Ash Blossom. That means he drew Ash Blossom for turn, because in that specific game state, you think back to when I Fualos'd him, he called by that. Well, if his hand passed to 1 Ash Blossom, he probably would have preferred to Ash Blossom the Fualos and save the call by for the Ash Blossom that made him pass his turn. So you knew it was off the top, and you can't stop that. It would then lead to me losing that game. Is what it is. You can't really do anything about that. I looked back at my side patterns, and honestly, the side patterns were solved, and everything was how it was supposed to be for every matchup. Even though this is a matchup I didn't practice, it was very similar to another side patterns that I have, and all of my swap arounds were going to be the same. So nothing I could have done to fix that there. All my interactions were used at the proper points. It just was the matter of I didn't see any engine to play the game. And that's okay. Now, could I have built my deck differently to avoid that happening? Maybe, but it's 1 loss. Let's not say that right now until we get to the end of it. So moving on, my team would lose round 1, but we would win out until I want to say around 6. My second personal loss, though, came round 4. Obviously, 2-2, not what I want to be, but let's look at why I lost. My opponent's playing VSK9. This is the only VSK9 opponent I played the entire weekend. I win game 1 through 3 hand traps pretty easily. Make a very solid board. He can't win. Game 2, I Perulia my opponent in the draw phase. He responds with Dimensional Shifter. It's Shifter. Well, what do you want to do? It's Shifter, man. He had the one of. You can't really play around that. However, I did notice a misplay I made during this game, which is important. My opponent gave me 2 draws off of the Perulia, and one of them he shouldn't have given me, but he messed up. And that's okay. I'm not trying to bag him, but he did give me another draw. I was able to pass back to him with some ways to play the game. It would then lead back to me for a turn 4. I didn't have too much. He had some stuff, but I was going for game. And my game plan led to me sending the wrong card off Fall on the White. I thought I was going for game. I couldn't. This led to me not having an interaction for his turn 5, the turn 5 of the game, his turn 3. I would lose the game. Not because I didn't have that interaction. I looked back and said the interaction, which is the Fallen and the Virtuous being set, would not have stopped him from winning. It just gives me more of an opportunity to not lose, which is really important when you're hoping your opponent misplays, and it gives you the ability to win. Obviously, that's not the case. I didn't put myself in that situation, and I do lose the game. Was I always going to lose that game? It's a very good chance I do, but it still doesn't make what I did any less wrong. But it's okay. That was game 2. We got game 3, and we're already in a very difficult situation being shifted. Also, have to mention this, his opening play was Shifter, activate reinforcements to the army. The reason I say that is because game 3, I go first, my opponent goes draw phase, activate Dimensional Shifter. I look at my team, Jared and Chance, and say, guys, I got shifted again. Wait, what can you do? It's Shifter. It's Shifter. So I pass with no way to play, 5 mana in hand, and praying that I don't die. Well, my opponent goes activate reinforcements of the army. I'm not winning this game. I can't. My opponent needs to actually have a stroke in front of me for me to possibly win this game. Thankfully, my team won the match, but I wasn't too upset about that loss personally, because you want to look at every aspect of the game and say, all right, well, what could I have done differently? I found my one mistake. I was still losing anyway, but I got double shifted in one match. 2 games I got shifted. You can't beat yourself up about that. It's shifter. It's a one hand trap that beats a lot of decks. If your opponent has it, they have it. It is what it is. You can't really fault yourself or your personal play. Obviously, you don't want to take losses like that at a YCS or any major event that you care about, and that doesn't make it any less, hurt any less. But when your whole goal is to think, I want to get better at this game, I want to improve, you can't focus on a loss that says, well, I couldn't have done anything anyway. You couldn't. It was shifter. Moving on, our team loss, I still won my match. Our team loss came at the hand of round 6 to Kamal, Ruben, and Heisem. Great players, no shame in losing to them. I won my match. I looked at my buddy Chance, game 1. He was a die roll. His hand was 5 mana and 4 different hand traps. He did not play the same list as me. He played Branded Draco Tail without the Magistus cards. It was very similar to the list that got second place, but he just couldn't play the game. It happens. We were able to look back and say, well, could he have used his hand traps differently? Maybe he would have, lived to see turn 3. It wasn't happening. It wasn't happening with his match. And that's okay. We looked to make sure to see if we used our hand traps appropriately. And we did, so we're happy about that. Moving on to my next personal loss came day 2. We are X3 at this point when this loss happens, and we're just hoping to sneak into top 16. Which isn't top 8, which is what we wanted. We were shooting to win. Obviously, we're going to be happy with the top 16 placement. My last loss came to a double game loss at the hands of Yummy Fiendsmith. Going into that specific story, a lot happened that caused the double game loss. It was built up over the course of several different factors. Some of them, or most of them, were out of my control. But I tried my best, and we're going to see what happened. A lot of things went into the double game loss, and they kind of all built off of game 1. Starters, my opponent had full board. I had ways to beat it, but I had to work through it. Now, mind you, this is also with him having non-engine in his hand as well. My opponent ended with a Wave King on his board and some yummy names, and I think that's it. Maybe the field spell. I was able to end with barely anything. I had set both of my trap cards, and I had contact fused my Gulamel and Arthalion off into Chorozo. I had gotten rid of his SP, and his Wave King had both of his materials stuck underneath of it. His Engraver was stuck under there as well, which is pretty important to the story. The reason for that is because Chorozo sat on the board, and he never got rid of it. But the thing is, he didn't read it. So he built a full Yummy board and just went to battle phase. Now, through that Yummy board, I did resolve Flame and Sting, and he made his place around, through them, but I drew 2 cards. Now, I had no cards in hand at this point. Why haven't I scooped at this point? Well, let's talk about the draws I had. The draws were Fallen and the Virtuous, which is dealing with his Wave King, and Crowley. Those are the 2 best draws I could have seen. Especially Crowley, because I have Chorozo on the board. I'm still putting on the fact that he hasn't read Chorozo yet. He doesn't know what Chorozo's on-board effect does. Let's read that. Once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can target it, negate that attack, and if you do, this card gains the attack equal to that monster's amount until the end of this turn. Then you can return that monster to the hand. So, I was putting him on not reading that, attacking into with his largest Yummy monster, and my Chorozo being the biggest monster on the board, and that is exactly what happened. So, I am now being given another turn. I just need 1, my next draw to not be terrible, and 2, him to misplay a little bit more, which was happening. And no flame to him. It is a YCS. We're in the last round of Swiss. It is very stressful. Everyone's a little nervous because they're trying to win as well. And, the pressure's on in those moments. And that's okay. My next draw for turn is Spenta. And now Spenta, game 1, after I've just drawn Crowley and I have Chorozo on the board, was the worst draw I could have seen. I could have drawn maybe a normal monster and it had been better than this. I do lose this game. Now, the issue with this is, even though I was always losing this game, which is fine, I did put him on misplay, and I bought myself some time. That's great. The problem is time on the clock ran out, and I was now not being given enough time for a lot of time for games 2 and 3. I win game 2 pretty easily. We go to game 3. He still makes full board again. I have no hand traps, but I have the ways to break the board. I've got Droplet, I've got Imperm, Droplet. I had ways to play. The issue is my ways to play were Rahu, and my opponent with his SP, Wave King, and Yummy Name with 2 set back row, his answer was Retaliating C. My end board with getting rid of his Wave King was Arthalion, Lucaeus on board, Phimena in hand, set Droplet. Here's the issue. He has an SP Little Knight still on the board that I could not deal with. That means he's already checked Phimena. Phimena's already more than checked. I can't do anything about it. I'm just putting him on misplay. Well, he does. And he does misplay a lot, to the point that I'm actually going to win this game if my draw is good. And again, no flame to him. It's a really high pressure situation. They were all nice guys, and really sucks that that was how our match ended. What ended up happening was he would go to put 2 Yummy Names on the board, one of them being Snatchy. He would go activate Surprise, targeting his Snatchy and the other monster, targeting my Arthalion and the set Droplet that he didn't know was there. I said, sure. He chains Snatchy to Synchro. I chain Droplet, sending Arthalion. Obviously, that clears 2 monsters off him. Really happy about that. He ends up making Sequence with the Engraver he summoned back. I would summon my Arthalion back at this time. He can't deal with the Arthalion because he shuffled back the Requiem that he had no choice but to shuffle that back to make the Desiree, but it means he can't beat over Arthalion anymore. He would then link the Desiree and the Sequence off for, I believe it was Reaper Docus, to get rid of the Arthalion and banish it. The SB's still on the board, Lucius on board, Phimena in hand. He can't beat over Lucius now. Lucius is the largest attack on the board. He passes turn with 1 set back row and 1 card in hand. I draw for turn with about 30 seconds left, if that, and it is Fallen of the White Dragon. This was the best draw in my deck, and it's not even close. I win the game on the spot no matter what he has because of this. He says, I show that to him, I say, this wins the game without a doubt. He shows me an Ash Blossom and says, I have Ash. Well, that doesn't win him the game. In fact, if he uses it at the point that is the best, he buys a turn, but my board would be too stacked for him to win. The best point would be for him to Ash Blossom the Fallen the White Dragon summon from deck effect. If he does that, I enter battle, I deal with the SP Little Knight, and I then Phimena turn everything into Secretarion. Phimena set off, or Lucius set off of the Fusion, set a Rahu. I would Secretarion summon back the Lucius. You kind of see where I'm going from here. I would get way too much advantage and I would win this game. I just don't have the time to show him that. And time's called. The judge is there watching us, especially because it's the last round. They're watching like a hawk. It's over there. Now, looking back, my opponent was supposed to win this. Mainly because his last card set was Assist Yummy. That dealt with the Arthalion and he didn't have to do any extra work. Again, not trying to flame him whatsoever. It is a high pressure situation. Everybody makes mistakes. Even ones that may be more obvious than others. They happen. It happens to everybody, and that's okay. It's learning from them and learning how to handle that pressure going forward. Those were my own personal losses. And after the event, I noticed what I wanted to change about my deck. So let's make those changes now. Those changes are, I wanted to cut cut down to 1 pan. I just didn't want to see multiples of it. I saw a couple of it twice, like 2 pan and an Urgula with no other real ways to play except the Rahu, and it was kind of like just praying that I really hope you don't have anything that stops this. And thankfully they didn't, but it's still not what I want to see when I changed it for the card I did play, Third Fallen of the Virtuous, or do want to play the Third Fallen of the Virtuous. I've gone on record in previous deck profiles and said that this card is fake, that this is the worst card, you only really need 1 of it. And during those deck profiles, I stand by that. I don't think they were good in those moments. Vegas was a different event. Vegas was an event where Yummy Fiendsmith was probably the most popular deck in the room. And because I knew I was playing against that deck a lot, I wanted a card that can help deal with that board. That's the Fallen and the Virtuous. this card became the best card in my deck the entire weekend. And that's okay because it was a different event from the other ones. What's important when building a deck and looking back at things like that is saying, all right, well, what are we learning here? What is there something that we are doing different? Is the event different? Was this card always that good and I was just wrong at the time? Maybe, but I look back and I don't think I was. But I look at it now and I'm like, all right, well, the event is different. The format's a bit different. This is the best card in my deck, and I stand by that. So it's about learning the difference between these different events because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very volatile game. Things change all the time. I think this was the best card in my deck, and still do think it is now. The worst card in my deck, though, was Drone Leopard, and I swapped them for the Nibs almost instantly. And that's the list. I really liked the one Spenta, one Crowley. I liked siding more. I honestly liked everything about this moving forward, and I don't think I really want to change anything. There's, possibly a new ban list coming up soon, so things would change. Going into the new format with new decks coming in, things are definitely going to change. So this list will change to adapt to that format. The thing is, I'm not too sure if I'll be playing this deck going into the next format. There's new decks. I want to try new things, and that's the beauty of what we're trying to do and teach off of this is learn everything. I might go back to this at the end of the day, but I want to sit down and learn all the other decks first. But as of right now, this was the finalized list leading up to the new stuff coming up. Now that we've went over our own list, let's compare ours next to the lists that did do well. We're going to go back to the spreadsheet that we've been using since episode 1 and look at the list that topped. So we can look at the branded Dracotail list down here and see that, actually this is the second place one. Yeah, this is very close to what my B player played. We had a couple things different. We only played 2 FTV in his. I think we played a second pan. As far as the non-engine goes, everything was pretty much the same. I think our extra decks was like 1 to 2 card difference. We didn't play Mysterion and play the Avalanetist. They did not do that. I think our side decks were relatively close overall. So pretty happy about saying that for his list because, even though we didn't win or top, we're happy that this is, this list that did do well is what should be played or, close to what should be played. So if we're pretty close to that, we can say, all right, our deck building was pretty on point for this event. We don't have to worry about that too much as far as our points to improve. That means we can focus on the next part of it, the technical play. That's what we've been doing the whole beginning of this episode is, where did we mess up? Could things have been done differently? And if we can look through all that and say, nothing was going to change about how we played, nothing was going to change about how we built our deck, we still lost, you were always losing that game, and that's okay. You can't focus on the games that you lose if you didn't do anything wrong. You're not going to win every game. While we try our best to not blame luck or any form of variance, it happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's okay to blame it, but you can only really blame it after you've ruled out everything else. You can't sit here and say, I just got unlucky, Well, could your deck have been built differently? Does your branded Dracotail deck look like the one that got second place? Yes? Okay, are you sure you used all your cards properly? Could you have done anything differently to make sure that you were not winning that game? If you were always losing that game and you couldn't have changed anything, okay, then yeah, you can blame the luck. But unless you've done that, you can't do it. It's just not going to help you get better. But now, moving on, we have a new format coming up. And with the new format coming up is a good time for everybody to, we should figure out what your goals for this format are and what your goals for Yu-Gi-Oh! Are. So let's write that down. For me, my own personal goal has always been get better at the game. That's the whole purpose of this video, has been get better at the game. But how do we do that? How do you do that? Well, let's say you're just starting out, right? You go to locals every so often, but now you're going to start going a bit more because you really have that competitive edge. Your first goal will be top locals once, or win locals. Let's just go with win locals. This is the first goal everybody has as far as tournament success and how the event should go. Once you've accomplished this one goal, however long it takes you, each person's different. It's okay if it takes you longer than others. Don't compare yourself to others. Focus on you and your personal improvement. Once you've topped or won locals once, your next goal will be consistently win locals all the time. Once you win locals all the time and you're consistently doing this, you can then say, all right, I'm doing this frequently. Let's move the bar a little bit. Let's say the next goal should be this. Get your invite. Now, you can get your invite a few different ways. You can get your invite through regionals and you can get your invite through OTS. Let's just say for this part of the improvement, we're going to go for the OTS. We got our invite through the OTS. That's our goal. Okay, you got that now. Your next goal should be win the OTS. Once you get your invite, we should be moving towards the next part of winning the OTS. But honestly, I'm going to change that up a little bit. I think our next goal past that should be get your invite again. If I can type. Once you got your invite again, you can kind of like feel better about saying, all right, it wasn't a fluke reason that I got it this one time. Now I've gotten it again. You can feel a bit better about yourself. It's, even though a lot of people say, oh, it's your invite, it's not a big deal. That's not important. What's important is you getting better and having success, seeing results. If the results you're seeing is improvement and you're winning things and you're accomplishing goals that some people have not accomplished yet, that's good. Now that we have get your invite, win the OTS is the next one. I say the next one should be get your invite at a regional. Now, some of these, these two right here, probably interchangeable depending on location. For me, I live near Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of the larger regionals in the country. Very frequently, we have 10-round events, usually average around 600 some players, sometimes more, but almost always 10 rounds of Swiss. That's a lot. Some regionals only go to 8, some only go to 9. 10 rounds in one day, that's more than a YCS with the max amount of players. They only ever play 9 rounds on day one anyway. So that's pretty, getting your invite to Philadelphia is a pretty big deal. It means you did, 7-3, maybe 6-4? Most likely 7-3, I think. That's still really good overall. You can't complain about that. So for me, getting your invite at a regional, with that being my benchmark, is a bit harder than winning an OTS sometimes. For you, it might be a little bit different. So these might flip-flop in their priority of, what's harder to do. But now that we've set that goal of getting your invite at a regional, the next goal is usually the hardest, is top a regional. Now, when I say top a regional, it's top 8. You got a mat at the end of the day. You didn't get your invite, you got a mat. Getting your invite at a regional does not count as topping it. It is still great as far as your improvement, and you should never let anyone take that away from you. But when I say top a regional, I am talking about top 8. Topping a regional is one of the harder things to do when you're trying to improve. To some people, they have never topped a regional, and this is the highest form of success that they think that they can achieve. Now, there's some people who will say topping a regional is super easy. They have infinite. For me, I'm at the point I have lost count of my regional tops, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I have been playing for a while, and I would say I'm pretty okay at the game. I've topped enough regionals to the point I have lost track. But I still find them somewhat important, especially Philadelphia, when Philadelphia is one of the bigger ones. We should always be focusing on trying to repeat the top of regional at this stage of our career. Even for me, topping regional is a big deal. I want to keep doing that. Once you've done this, The next goal is win a regional. There's a difference between topping a regional and winning a regional. I've won, I think, maybe one or two. I know I've won one for sure, but I don't know if I won another one. But I've topped a lot of them. But there's a big difference in feeling between winning one and topping one. It feels good to win them. So, especially for Philadelphia, that's 10 rounds of Swiss and you went 10-0. That's a YCS topping record, dude. That's great. That's huge improvements. People should be happy about that. You should be happy about that. That should be your goal after you top a regional. Now, next after that, consistently topping regionals. Winning a regional and topping a lot of regionals, those can be interchanging for people of what's harder. Depends on your location, depends on how many you're able to go to. In my mind, topping a lot of regionals is harder because it says you're doing well consistently. You can win any regional, and people will say anybody can win on any given day. Sometimes it is their day. And while that might be the case, we want it to be our day every day. We want to win a lot. So it means we want to top a lot. And the way we do that is by getting better. So in my mind, topping a lot of regionals is a bigger deal than winning just the one. This is different for each person, but this is where my mind was when trying to get better. So for me, when I started back in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, I went through all of this. And now I'm at this point right here. Next one is big one, top of YCS. I've topped one YCS in my career. It's not a lot, and I want to do more. For me, this is still the goal. This is still my next hurdle that I'm trying to break through. You'll notice when you're stuck on one of these numbers that it's like a barrier. But what I've noticed is once I've broken that barrier, it becomes a lot easier to repeat that number. I had thought it was very hard to win a regional or top a regional. Once I did it one time, I found myself doing it a few months down the road. I was like, oh my God, I did it again. Let's go. Then I found myself doing it several times. And it became to a point where I was like, all right, I did this once. I can do it again. And then I keep doing it. Same for invites. I know some people who getting their invite was the biggest deal in the world to them. And I love that. It was a big improvement for them. And then that same person I saw get their invite, he was so emotional about it because he was so happy. I watched him win 2 OTSs back to back 6 months later. Just notice the difference in time and improvement that happened there. That's a big deal. And when you're trying to just focus on that, for him, it was his barrier. He was stuck on the invite part. Now he's winning these back to back. That's not easy at that point of his career. And he just did it like it was nothing. So, but because he got it the one time, he was able to do it again, and it felt a lot easier. You'll notice that when you break through any one of these barriers, you do it once, you can do it again, and it becomes a lot easier. And you find yourself putting it on less of a pedestal than it was before. Once you get through the topping of YCS, your next goal should be to top a lot of them. And honestly, we'll move that into the next one, win a YCS. Obviously, I'm not going to continue this list past this point. The next should be Nationals and then Worlds. But those are things that happen once a year. You really shouldn't be planning on those on your consistent time. Obviously, everybody wants to be world champion. Everyone wants to win Nationals. If that's not a goal for you when you're playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, that's okay. But when you go to those events, that should always be the goal. So, this is usually the goals for everybody's Yu-Gi-Oh career. Some people, and we're talking like the top 0.1% of players, are past this point, and we're not going to focus on them. These are your Christian Uranus, your Jesse Cottons, your Kamals. Like, these are the people you've seen doing it time and time and time again. That, yeah, they're way past us on this, but they've been playing for a while, and they're really good players. We're trying to just get better. So once you have made the roadmap of what it looks like to you of getting better at Yu-Gi-Oh and what goals you want to accomplish, put in the effort to do that. And then you'll notice once you've done it once, you can do it again. I would say now that what we should do for your homework for between now and the next video is look at what you want to do for the upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh set. New set's coming out, which is, good time to really look into what you want to do out of the game and how well you want to improve. Pick your deck, pick what you want to focus on, and write out your roadmap of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! What do you want to focus on first? Pick any one of these, because some players are at different points than the other. Most likely, if you're watching this series, you're somewhere around 1 to 7, 6 or 7. You're somewhere around there. Let's figure out what your roadmap looks like, figure out what barrier, which number you're stuck on, and let's try to break that barrier for this upcoming format. If you don't, that's okay. Let's focus on what we can do about that, and the overall theme of the series and this video, getting better and improving on everything that you can. Thank you guys so much for watching today. It really does mean the world. If there's anything you want us to talk about in the next video, please let us know. We have a new set coming up and the game's changing, so if you have a specific topic you want us to cover because of that, please let us know and we'll make it. If there's anything you have as far as personal questions for your own improvement and you're stuck on something, say, hey, I'm stuck doing with this or whatever, leave a comment. We'll help you out and see what we can do. With that being said, thank you all so much, and as always, stay inspired.